Somebody asked me this the other day, Ben, but why does Playboy Marty always look sad?
The Suns lost, man.
I think he's going to be perpetually sad for months after what happened to Phoenix. I think after his Game 2 celebration,
Brandon, he has a broken heart.
Really went downhill.
He's a broken man.
It's a broken heart.
All right, welcome into Pick Central. I am Brandon Walker. I am flanked by my man Big Av and my guy Ben Mintz. So, yeah, we got a lot to talk about. A lot going on in the sports world. It feels like we don't have enough shows to keep up with the changing world around us.
Crazy.
This world is spinning out of control. They just dropped a new baseball team name on us out of nowhere this morning.
And it's bad.
Just dropped one on us, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the gambling. We'll talk about the fucking Olympics have started. The Olympics have started, and I'm going to watch it. I love the Olympics.
I like them. They've just been cucked by all this other stuff going on.
They've been cucked. Yeah, I love the Olympics. I love just taking a day, like a Saturday, and just vegging out and letting whatever NBC wants to show me pop up on the screen. I'm watching team handball. I'm watching water polo. I would never watch – I only see water polo once every 4 years.
I like the swimming.
I like the swimming.
A race is very like a gambler's type of competition.
That and if you're flipping on TV and you see them warming up for a race, you have to stop and watch the race. So I love the swimming. I love the diving. I like the Olympics. Period. But the Olympics are not the big story here. The big story in sports is what's happening in college. I don't say college football, in college sports. I mean the whole environment is changing. The world is changing. And it appears, yesterday it was a lot of speculation, the day before speculation. Now it appears you can almost write it down. Texas, Oklahoma look like they're headed to the SEC. It was reported. We've seen reports that they've been talking to the SEC for 6 months. That this has been going on for a while. There are so many questions about it, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you off the top of the show. I decided that on Friday we're going to take more calls. 646-291-2437. So
I like that.
We got a couple topics we're going to talk about. We're really going to talk about Texas, Oklahoma, but hopefully by 12:20 or so, I'm going to get your calls. I don't want straight picks. I do want your picks, but I want some opinion. I want you to rock the boat a little bit. I want you to give us something to talk about. Just fucking bring it. All right, this is Pick Central. I don't know what that means, but it is what it is. All right, so Texas, Oklahoma, headed to the SEC. We just found out Kansas might be talking to the Big Ten. Makes a lot of sense. So here's how we're going to approach this. Number one, as it sinks into reality, and as your mind races towards the possibilities of this, of that, what stands out in your mind the most, Big Ev, about this thing?
I think it's just the entire, just the way we see conferences is about to change completely. Like, if we really go to this full super conference thing,
yeah,
there's just so, this is just the first domino.
Right.
There's just so many more to fall, where we talked about yesterday, the Big Ten ACC probably going to get in a big bidding war over Notre Dame. With the super conferences, it's going to teams like that, like a team like Notre Dame, they're unique. They're the most powerful independent team. It's kind of forcing their hand now.
Right.
I think they're going to not really have a choice. You're going to have to go, it's Big Ten or ACC. Big Ten is the bigger cock, so they're probably going to win, I would think. But just the whole thing, now we're talking, because now obviously with Kansas, we're talking basketball. This thing, like you said, it's not just college football, it's college sports. It's the whole spectrum of the way we view things is about to completely change. And I think it's exciting. I think now, I tweeted about it this morning, we have had the most exciting college football offseason probably ever. When you talk NIL, the playoff thing, and just the way now the transfer portal is literally free agency. It's the Wild West. We keep saying it, but it really, really is.
College football has undergone about 25 to 30 years of changes in the last month.
Exactly.
It is really – this is the evolution of college football, and the rapid change this year has been unbelievable. It's hard to wrap your mind around, but NIL has changed everything, and it's changed everything behind the scenes and below the surface, so you don't really see it, but it has, and things are crazy because of that. Everything you just said, the transfer portal, it's free agency out there.
Literally.
It's free agency. Literally. The player that you love this year will be the player you hate next year. The player you hate this year, you could love him next year. We're used to that in pro sports. We're not used to that in college sports. We're used to falling in love with a guy for 4 years and then shaking his hand and saluting him and saying, or 3 years, whatever it is, and then saying good luck to you. But now it's crazy, and Texas, Oklahoma go in the SEC. My big question for Texas and Oklahoma had a conference to themselves. That conference was built to suck their dicks. That conference was built around Texas. Oklahoma
they even got their own network.
Oklahoma is kind of right there and kind of a partner to Texas. And everything about the Big 12 builds up Texas. They kowtow to them. They do everything. And they are now going to the SEC. That shit's not going to work. I'm not saying the SEC is big and bad, but I'm saying there are counterbalances to Texas. There's nobody to balance Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12, but there's Alabama, there's Florida, there's Georgia, there's all these other programs, LSU, that are just as big, just as bad as Texas and Oklahoma, and they're not going to own a conference anymore. Are they going to be they're going to be able to be one of 16 instead of being just one of one of two?
I mean, we saw last few years. I mean, these are teams that Texas hasn't been like that great. They've been like okay. I mean, Oklahoma the last couple, they're dropping games to Kansas State, like a tricky road game. Like imagine these road games, like you said, becoming LSU, Bama, Auburn. Like Auburn's not going to be good this year, but they're going to get better. These teams are going to be good. Like you're going to have these crazy matchups in the middle of the season that instead of playing TCU and West Virginia, you could be playing like a Bama, Georgia, LSU, all these teams. I don't know how they're going to handle it. That's going to be interesting to see that first season where, say they come in that first year and they lose 4 games. You get a tough draw.
Yeah.
A good Oklahoma team goes 8-4.
Right.
That's going to be maybe some, I don't want to say some buyer's remorse.
Right.
But potentially from a fan perspective, you're going to be like, oh, like, you know what?
I think Oklahoma will compete fine.
I think they will too in general.
I don't know that Texas will, but I think Oklahoma is built like an SEC power, like an Alabama, like an LSU. I think they'll come in. They will go 10-2 instead of 11-1 possibly, but I think they'll stay exactly where they are. Za, I got to tell you something. Apparently, I'm getting on the chat. Calls aren't working. Calls are not getting through.
Yeah, that's what.
Oh, I guess that's why the tech guys are in there. Okay, I just thought you guys were in there sucking each other's dicks. I didn't know. So, okay, he just.
You'd like that.
Well, you know what, Avery? It'd spice up a otherwise boring Friday, wouldn't it?
Laid back summer Friday.
So, what do you think, man? What sticks out to you the most?
Okay, well, first of all, if I'm an A&M fan, I've got a lot of thoughts. I'm real curious. I'm sure Casey has tons.
Well, we're recording an unnecessary reference today, right after these two shows, and I'll see what she has to say.
It's just funny to me on the A&M front because Texas, as you said, the whole Big 12 was just for them to get them off. They thought they were so high and mighty that they build their own damn network. And A&M's like, hey, we're a huge school with big resources. We don't need you. They go to the SEC, and now it's like hilarious in a way to see Texas basically. I mean, I don't want to say them admit they were way wrong, but they kind of are here.
I don't know if they're admitting their way wrong. I think they're just kind of sitting down and looking at the board and realizing that the money we can make carrying Kansas State, carrying Iowa State, carrying these other teams into these TV
Baylor,
negotiations.
TCU.
The money I can make carrying these teams in negotiations versus the money I can make joining an army, I can make more money in that army. And I don't have the burden of carrying these other ones.
Yeah, another thing with Texas, too, I've got friends that have season tickets in Austin, and because the Texas-Oklahoma games in Dallas every year, their home schedule is trash. Their best home games like Iowa State usually. It's like Iowa State, Kansas, TCU. They literally, people were like, why are we even buying season tickets? The only good game is the one in Dallas.
Well, yeah, because the only good game is the shootout.
Yeah.
Or the rivalry, whatever they call it.
Or Oklahoma State some years.
Yeah, I just who's the biggest loser in this situation off the top?
Oklahoma State.
I think a two. I think it's obviously A&M because A&M is like the team. A&M's like the high school kid that was getting bullied, and they transferred schools, and at their new school there were nothing but hot women. They were treated right, everything was going great, life's great, and all of a sudden the school's redistrict, and here come the bullies again.
Yep.
So they don't get to have their own space, their own area of the world. Texas in the SEC.
Got to hurt their recruiting too.
But
Texas having the SEC recruiting.
I think Oklahoma State as well. Oklahoma State is a good athletic program, and they're good across the board. They're always pretty good in basketball. Every now and then they'll be great. They're always pretty good in football. Every now and then they'll be great. They're always good in the other non-revenue sports.
Good baseball too. Yeah.
Good softball as well. Like they're a good program, and Oklahoma just left in the night. Just woke up, grabbed its keys, and left. And now I can't believe the legislature of Oklahoma isn't. I assume there's politically going to be a lot of divide in Oklahoma right now because you got Oklahoma State. Oklahoma's about to go make a whole lot of money, and Oklahoma State has to find something. They got to find something. They're fucked.
I'm sure they're going to get a call from the Big Ten, I'd imagine.
I would
think at least. Maybe at least conversation.
It is interesting to me that Kansas, we've had a report that Kansas is talking to the Big Ten today. So the Big Ten recognizes right now,
basketball.
Hey, give me that basketball program.
Yep.
Give me that basketball program.
It makes great sense. And I think it was funny. This is such like an easy surface level thing, but Kansas going to the I immediately just got excited at the idea.
Dude, fucking Tuesday night in February, you got Michigan, Ohio State, and then you got Iowa, Kansas, and you got just all the good Big Ten basketball teams and Kansas thrown in.
Mm-hmm. Great colors.
Good color, yeah.
Great colors. I immediately just envisioned like Kansas versus Michigan, like Kansas versus Ohio State, all these like you said, Kansas versus Iowa, and I was like, a little mix in the little red, white, and blue with all those. I like it.
Yeah. I'm just the clashes, Kansas against Wisconsin in basketball.
Yeah.
Kansas on that red court.
Kansas, Michigan.
I just it's fun to talk about. But
I just think if we get Kansas,
doesn't do anything for Big Ten football at all.
Well, I think we need to. If we're going to get Kansas, we need to match it with Notre Dame or Oklahoma State.
Yeah, you have to bring in because if you bring in two,
we can't have. Rutgers is getting better, and I do think they're.
Yeah, you brought in Rutgers, Maryland, who suck.
Yeah, Maryland's gonna be. I think Rutgers is on its way to be like formidable at least.
I actually think Maryland is too.
I hope so.
Loxley's recruiting at the highest level they've ever recruited.
Yeah,
if he can coach,
I hope so. We just need to not have these games where they're like Michigan's beating Rutgers like 78-0. Like we can't have that. We need good games.
I'll tell you. So, and we're not quite to the trickle down because we're talking about the bigger public schools, and like you got to think Oklahoma State and Texas Tech, they're going to have a better chance of getting in the Pac-12, just having bigger fan bases. Do you think they're going to have to like reform a version of the Southwest Conference with these private schools like Baylor, TCU, SMU, University of Houston?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think they're going to get absorbed. I think you're going to have Pac-12 reach out and probably take TCU which is politically going to be weird. But they're going to take TCU. I think they'll end up taking Baylor too. Texas Tech maybe.
I feel like the public schools don't want to take Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, but I'm worried about those little private schools. I don't want to say little. I mean, Baylor just won a national championship. TCU, but do they have like the big fan?
I don't think that's going to be any worry.
Okay. Baylor's one for basketball. That's going to be very interesting too.
They got a really good new stadium in football too.
Yeah, it's there's so many levels. We're still working on that? Oh, Pete's in there now, so probably won't have calls today. Fucking Pete.
Could be good for the University of Houston to finally
Pete wearing his fucking bowling shirt.
University of Houston could finally move up a little bit.
I see. This was what everybody on Twitter says. I said it yesterday. I think I'm going to say it again.
Okay.
I do not think this is an opportunity for non-Power 5 teams to move up. I don't think that's what this is about. I think this is about the Power 5 dividing itself and aligning itself and getting in these pods, in these east, west, north, south pods. And I think that's what we're headed to. I don't think the teams like Cincinnati, Boise State, Houston, I don't think this is an opportunity for them to sneak in there because I don't think that's what this is about. This is about money. And these Power 5, too, the 65 schools in Power 5 are not going to want to divide it 80 ways. They're going to want to divide it 65 ways.
I retract that.
Well, no, you don't have to retract it. It's a worthy – a lot of people are saying it, that Cincinnati could leech on or get in the ACC because of this. And Houston, San Diego State in the Pac-12, stuff like that. Rico said San Diego State yesterday. So this is all right, call 646-291-2437. Pete fixed it. Thank you, Pete.
Good job, Pete.
Asshole. All right. So they're not ready.
They're not ready. We're working on it.
Oh, you fixed it. Shut the fuck up. Okay.
All right.
BFW so wrong here. About what? What am I?
I think you're right about the smaller schools. I think because I even think about it from like you said, like the money thing. Listen, money. This is what it's all about. Like even like thinking like big because people they would put Cincy as like a candidate for like Big Ten as well. Give me Kansas.
I mean, the answer to replacing the money from Texas, Oklahoma in a TV contract is not Houston. It's just not.
For sure.
They're not going to be able to put together – the Big 12 is not going to be able to put together a group of teams that can replace that money. So the Big 12 is going to evaporate, and the Big 12 is going to get sucked up. And the teams in there are going to say, you know what, Big Ten's offering me – I'm Oklahoma State. They're offering me this much money. I'm going there. And, well – trickle down. Everybody will get the money. This is trickling down. It's not trickling up for the non-Power 5 teams to get in somewhere. Maybe one gets in. Maybe BYU sneaks in the Pac-12.
Yeah, that makes the most sense.
Because they're a national brand. Again, but politically, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know if the Pac-12 – like I think that the second they extend an invite, Twitter blows up with all kind of people that tell you how to think. So, don't let them in there because of the religious thing. And then so That'll be interesting to see. And maybe I think the two non-Power 5 teams that could land here are BYU and Notre Dame in the Big Ten or the ACC.
The Pac-12 could be interested, too, to get a couple of the Texas schools to just reach their demographic into Texas, I would think, right?
Possibly.
I mean, I know they're not getting the big ones, but
BFW is wrong. There will be fallout that will impact the smaller schools.
I think one other thing
Where?
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you? Yes, there will be fallout that impacts everybody. I don't think this is a good thing for the small schools. The fallout will impact the smaller schools. I don't think the smaller schools are sitting there saying, "Oh, pick me," and they get picked. I just don't think.
No.
I don't think that's going to happen. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. There's obviously fallout that is going to be.
People get it twisted that it's not about how good your program is. It's money.
It's money.
It doesn't it doesn't matter. Like that it was like a Cincinnati or one of these teams is having good programs, like San Diego State having good basketball. It doesn't really matter that much. It's how much money can you bring in? How much are you worth?
Who besides Texas and Oklahoma is this good for? I think it's good for West Virginia. I think West Virginia going to the ACC makes a lot of sense.
Great for them.
Oh, yeah, that Big 12's been.
I think they fit there perfectly.
Yeah, they just never fit in the Big 12. I think
bring back some of those old Big East rivalries.
West Virginia against Pitt,
Syracuse.
Backyard brawl.
Instead of going to West Virginia at Kansas State on Saturday, I got West Virginia at Virginia Tech. I mean, sign me up for that.
Love it.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I like that too.
And then basketball-wise, they jump in the ACC.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
Pitt,
gangbusters.
Syracuse, all those great games, they're back.
You got Bobby Huggins. I mean, everything. I love the West Virginia. To me, has always felt like an ACC team anyway. So I love that.
Yeah, I'd say it helps West Virginia. Man, let's see. I mean, obviously helps Oklahoma and Texas and the SEC. The 12-team playoff thing that I mentioned yesterday, I think that's a little incentive. Even if the SEC is this nuclear super conference, you're going to be able to drop a couple games and still get in the playoff. I mean, it's tough, but
you know what? I think that this could be a great thing for Clemson and Ohio State too.
Yeah, because they can lose again. Now they can lose a game and still get in. They don't have to have that pressure.
Well, yeah, the 12-team playoff, yes, but I think this movement by Texas and Oklahoma is good. I mean, listen, the road for Alabama and LSU and Florida and Georgia got tougher today.
Yep.
So the road for Ohio State, adding Kansas, that doesn't. Nothing about Ohio State's road has gotten tougher. Nothing about Clemson's road has gotten tougher, but it's gotten tougher for everybody else. So I think not that they were really needing any help. They don't need any help, but it doesn't hurt.
No, agreed, 100%, 100%.
All right. So what the chat is particularly. What's the word? Stupid today. Really stupid. Brandon's mad because Mississippi State's going to be last. Let me tell you something. That guy and me, we know we're not at a have school. We're at a have-not school. We will vote however Alabama wants us to vote.
Exactly.
We will. Listen,
very happy to be part of the team.
If the vote, and I think the vote to bring in Texas and Oklahoma is going to be 14-0. I think A&M's going to realize the money. But they'll
abstain.
If anything, it'll be 13-1, and we allow Texas A&M to vote the way they want to look like they voted. But they know they know this is going to be a good thing in the long run. Even the A&M fans who are just absolutely tweeting through it right now, trying to tweet.
It's because think about it's kind of what you said. Bringing up like you'll vote wherever Alabama votes. Like you think they would do this and not tell Alabama? No.
I think Brandon's made the whole time is right. This has been planned for way longer because all this coming out. Oklahoma and Texas wouldn't be no showing the Big 12 conference call.
They literally leaked it while Jimbo Fisher was on stage at SEC Media Days.
Incredible.
You know how cutthroat that is. You know how incredible that is. That is awesome. That is fantastic.
I guess that's the new big story since the freeze thing happened a few years ago.
Somebody says TCU and Baylor could go independent, and another guy says, who do you think can go independent? I believe independence is dead.
No, that's a horrible idea, especially for those schools.
Independence is dead.
Independent only works for Notre Dame because they have the worldwide. They have the
and
national
BYU,
and BYU.
It does,
but Notre Dame more than
independence for any of these schools would be committing suicide.
Awful idea.
I feel like the smaller G5, you see these like the American and CUSA especially. They're going to be back to more regionalized. It doesn't make sense. It already doesn't make sense for these national conferences where they don't have big budgets and they have to spend all their money flying and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised to see.
I do hope one fallout is the G5 getting their shit together
and getting their own thing
and saying, you know what? It is clear you guys want to be your own thing. You know what? It is clear you guys were never going to invite us to the party. It is clear that we should be our own thing, because I think the group of 5, I think the teams that make the group of 5, particularly the AAC, could have a very good product if they focus not on being filler for the schedules of the big schools, if they focus not on trying to get a mythical playoff spot they'll never get, if they focused on G5 creating an 8-team group of 5 playoff and creating competition for that, maybe even group of 5 bowls. I don't know. I'm sure there are some bowls out there that would just say, yeah, we'll come with you. I mean, so group of 5. Bam, if they focus on growing themselves instead of being a hanger-on to Power 5, because Power 5 doesn't want you. They've made that clear. Is it fair? No, but that is it. If the group of 5 got together and said, we are now the group of 5, we're going to have a group of 5 champion, bam, I would love that.
They almost would be like a well, they call, obviously it used to be D1 AA, they call it FCS now. Almost like a pseudo, like, in between.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it would almost the group of 5 would be what Division 1 is now, and then this new thing, this Power 5 is going to be a break-off from that. That would be good football.
Yep.
I would enjoy that.
Think about how much more fun postseason will be if we have a 12-team playoff and then an 8-team G5 playoff instead of just like exhibition bowl games.
Yeah,
I mean, postseason will be on fire.
But
no one's going to opt out.
I guess the counterbalance to that, the counter question to that is, can the group of 5 teams survive without the weekly paychecks from the bigger schools? Can Cincinnati not play? Well, not Cincinnati because they live on their own, but can I don't know, a small school, can UL Lafayette exist without playing at Alabama to get a check, without playing at Georgia to get a check? I don't know.
I know UL Monroe
could they
can't.
still, even with forming their own thing and having their own playoff, could they still do like FCS schools play D1 schools and they have their own stuff.
Yeah,
they have their own championships.
Yeah.
I don't see why they still.
True, that's true.
They can schedule a game or two a year if they want to.
Very good point. Ian Barrett says Pac-12 not looking like a power conference anymore. I completely disagree. I think the Pac-12 is about to get stronger. I think it's about to get a lot bigger. I think it's about to dip into Texas.
It's going to get deeper.
They also got Larry Scott out of there, who was an awful commissioner who didn't have a clue what he was doing. The last few years has been real bad with them with TV and just, they haven't known what they were doing. I think anything but him's an upgrade.
If you have the Pac-12 basically with an East and West division where it's just maybe you take Utah, Colorado, put them with the Kansas State, Oklahoma State if you were able to get them, and the Texas teams. You just have one gigantic conference, and you would mitigate the travel. You wouldn't be traveling so much. But that's just these are ideas. Oklahoma State to the Big Ten.
What about the SEC? What's going to happen with the divisions? That's something that's been a hot topic.
Yeah, that's the question here. So is it going to be 8-team divisions or 4-team pods? The more I look at it, the 4-team pods looks like it has a lot of momentum.
Yeah.
It's that way you kind of ease in. You would play that would move SEC if what I saw comes to fruition. That would move SEC to 9-game conference schedule because 4-team pods. You would play every other team in your division in your pod, so that's 3 games. Then in every other pod, there's 3 other pods. You'd play 2 teams, and that adds up to 9 games. 3 plus 6 is 9, yes. And then that way, if you're playing 2 teams in every other pod, that means you host a team every 4 years. Every team in the SEC, you host them every 4 years. You play them every 2 years. So that's been a problem in the SEC, this crazy schedule we've come up with. Florida and Arkansas, they played recently, but certain teams in the East, certain teams in the West, they won't play each other home and home. They'll play each other over like 18 years span. It goes forever where they don't play each other. You don't see another team. So it's crazy.
If they did the 4-14 pods, would it be like 4? Would you have like an SEC?
I think you'd have an SEC playoff.
Yeah, you'd have an SEC semifinal and final.
Yeah, I think you'd have an SEC playoff in that organized structure. You would have pod 1 against pod 2 or pod whatever, and then you'd have the SEC championship game.
Now, do you think
you'd have a true champion?
Do you think they'd actually do the pods like regionally, like that little thing on Twitter was, or do you think they would try to make it a little more?
I think it would have to be regionally. I don't think there's any
because it almost
pod
obviously teams and just the way how good teams are is going to change year to year, but there were just some regionally it was very like when you got like Bama, Auburn, LSU in the same one. Then what was the one that was like Vanderbilt, Kentucky?
Well, the funny one was
Ole Miss.
The Ole Miss one that was funny was that they did like a north, south, east, west, and the north one was like Kentucky, Missouri, Vandy, and Ole Miss.
Like imagine like that because that right now just wouldn't work.
That wouldn't work.
No, I think Ole Miss and State are attached.
I don't think you separate them.
Yeah, and you don't. And I think the West one is pretty. Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, and then either Arkansas or LSU. Seems like a very obvious West one. And then you've got an East one where you keep Florida, Georgia, South Carolina together. And then I guess you got to figure out the Auburn, Bama, and Ole Miss State. I don't know. It's fascinating, though. Vandy and Tennessee probably stick together, too, you'd think.
Couple more sports things before I take to the calls. And 646-291-2437. So Devontae Adams has broken off long-term talks with the Packers. It looks like the Packers, as we know them, could be on the verge of evaporating. Of course, you know how it works. You break off long-term talks until you decide to talk again. They could always just pick up the phone again. But Devontae Adams, my question is this Devontae Adams basically lining up to go wherever Aaron Rodgers goes?
I don't think necessarily.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not a no. It's not like a hard no.
Or is it just him saying, you know what, it's kind of clear to me that the quarterback's not going to be here, and I'm not going to play for a shitty quarterback.
I think that's a big part of it, too.
I'm going to go make $100 million with a good quarterback.
Because that's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, if he plays this year with Jordan Love, his numbers are probably not going to be the same.
His value's going to go down.
But my counter was I was going to say I don't know how much that really changes his value because I think we've seen enough from to know how good he is. If he hits the market, someone's giving him a big contract.
Big contract.
He's just that good. Like, someone is going to want him.
He's unreal. I'll say this. He's got to be driving a hard line because he's had a bunch of concussions, bunch of injuries. He knows he's got to get the big payday. He's had a lot of injuries.
I'm telling you, this all the nail in this coffin for the Packers. Everything. I really believe, I've said it from the beginning, that Rodgers is not going to put on a Packer uniform again. The nail in the coffin was kicking that field goal on 4th and goal. Yeah. When they were down, whatever. I'm telling you.
They're down 31-23 on the 8-yard line, 4th and goal.
The nail in the coffin was not putting the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands. I think he already was having some issues. I think that was when he was like, I'm done with this.
Other NFL news. So NFL basically said, hey, if you are unvaccinated and you contribute to a breakout on your team and they don't play, you're getting what's the word? You're unpaid.
Yes.
And you forfeit.
Yep.
You lose a game, you forfeit. We're not just postponing. We're not doing any of that. You forfeit the game, and you don't get paid. And a lot of players, this is a strong-arm tactic. A lot of players have reached out. Cole Beasley famously a couple of weeks ago, and DeAndre Hopkins.
And then Jalen Ramsey came out also spoke about it too.
DeAndre Hopkins saying, hey, getting forced to get the vaccine makes me think about retiring. Now, I am about liberty first and foremost. I am sitting here talking to you. I'm a vaccinated human being. After I had the scare in April, I got it over the. So I'm a vaccinated human being, but I believe in liberty, and I believe I don't really love the NFL doing this, and I believe if DeAndre Hopkins, if he steps away, I mean, I just
he deleted that tweet.
I believe in the vaccination. I really do. I think people should get it, but I also believe in your ability to believe what you want to believe. And
that's where I stand too. I don't think you have to. I think this more. I don't know. It's a weird. I don't want to get all political and stuff.
Nobody does.
It's very. I don't believe that someone should like have to take something because you like make them if they don't want to. I think that's where it's you. The beauty of it is the consequences fall on you, like whether it's good or bad. But that's what freedom is. Like you make your own decisions and you deal with it. And I think that's the whole thing where, because you saw then they were bringing up other things like I know Jalen Ramsey, it was just bringing up like they each had someone related to them that either had some sort of complication or like something like that. So I think it's like someone, and I won't get into it. I have a family member, not with like a COVID vaccine, but a different vaccine that's had issues with it. So I know it's very sobering when it happens to someone in your family. You realize like that 1 in a million, like it can be you. But it's just a weird thing where it's definitely a hard just line in the sand kind of thing. Yeah. When you're talking about because I don't know how there was penalties and they were saying even discipline from the league, forfeiting games, not getting your game check. Because where it's going to get fishy is when the backup center gets COVID, misses a game, and then your quarterback that makes $30 million a year that's getting a $2 million game check doesn't get that game check. Then shit's going to get real in the locker room. It's going to change a lot of dynamics and things. It's going to be weird.
I mean, you guys are right on the chat. I mean, listen, the NFL is a private business. It has the right to say.
No, that's fair.
You don't have the right. I mean, playing in the NFL is a privilege, not a right.
For sure.
So they have the ability to extend these rules. Really, it's more like the fallout when these guys do say this. I believe my right not to get it, and then social media blows up. Everybody judges him. Everybody says it. That man's free to do what he wants. That man's free.
But that's what they're saying. But he's free to. But on the other end, like that's why he's also if they put this line in the sand, then he's free to quit the league, and he has to deal with those consequences of not making the money.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Brandon, you almost said word for word. I believe in the vaccine. I got the vaccine, but I'm not going to sit here and tell people how they should live their lives. Yeah. So what you're saying is basically what I think too. But what I will say is this Delta variant thing is like super contagious. The South's getting lit up right now. I know some people in New Orleans that have been vaccinated that had the J&J vaccine that caught it. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, this one that's going out right now is attacking young people more. And so, I mean, I'm obviously I'm glad I got the vaccine. We'll put it that way. But still, people can do what they want. People do need to be careful, though. Right? We're not out of the woods yet.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It sucks.
You know what else sucks is Mike Thomas getting hurt, the ankle surgery coming out today. That he hurt his ankle last year, and that he never got healthy. Had surgery in June. They kept quiet. Now he's out like 4 months, at least till October. Horrible news for the Saints. So yeah, I'm sorry.
Let's get some calls. Let's see who wants to talk about some college football. Tyler in Missouri wants to talk college football. Go ahead, Tyler.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And your connection's not great, but let's see what we can do here. Go ahead.
Can you hear me better?
I got you.
So I just wanted to give you guys the over 7 for Mizzou football this year. It's Eli Drinkwitz's second year. He's got a full off season now to prepare the boys. Bazelak is going into his second year now. They hired Steve Wilkes as the defensive coordinator. Their defensive backs were the biggest struggle last year. He's specifically a defensive back coach. They got some transfers this year, and they're getting the best recruiting classes they've ever had this year and next year. So it's Mizzou football.
All right, thank you very much. God bless him. I love that people call with picks. But in the world of college football that's happening right now, just calling him Missouri over. But I don't hate the pick. I think the East is hard to really. The bottom of the East is easy. The top of the East is easy. Vanderbilt will be at the bottom. Georgia will be at the top. What happens in the middle is going to be very interesting. I would guess Florida would finish second, but I think Kentucky's pretty good too. Tennessee's going to be down. South Carolina is in a first-year coach. The opportunity to win more than 7 games for Missouri is definitely there with a sophomore quarterback who showed a lot of promise. I believe he's the SEC Freshman of the Year last year.
Yeah, he had that LSU game week 2 where he outgunned Miles Brennan at LSU in that shootout. Was very impressive. Tell you what, Eli Drinkwitz is a funny character, Brandon. You see some of his quotes? He's a pretty funny dude.
Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, that's pretty funny from the start.
I enjoy. He seems like he's got a pretty funny personality. I would think he relates well to his players.
God damn, Zah, not your fault. This computer just restarts. It just restarts. It just
apparently.
Got the.
I mean, what you gonna do?
It's funny.
I was like, the fuck do you want me to do about it?
You got a sticker on it that says I've got that voodoo on it.
Can you put callers through to me?
Yeah, if you want a college football one.
Yeah, give me a CFB one. Tell me who it is. Yeah.
All right, Eric from Utah, you're on.
Eric from Utah, what's up?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
No.
Okay. Anyhow, I'm a big fan of this expansion stuff.
Yeah.
I am a huge Pac-12 homer, to be completely honest with you. I think that adding Kansas, especially from a basketball perspective, would be great. But I think if you go after Kansas, you have to get Oklahoma State because the football product is already not let's be honest, Brandon.
Yeah.
Nobody respects the Pac-12. I appreciate that you guys give it the time of day and stuff, but nobody really cares about the Pac-12 nationally, and that's not really ever going to change unless they get a big Texas school like a Baylor or a TCU or to some extent Texas Tech, but not really because their football program's so-so. But I also agree with what you've said about the G5 stuff. I really don't think that they're coming up at all. I know a lot of people here in Utah are fascinated about Boise State maybe getting a call, but I just don't think that happens. It's all about money, but I think you're totally right about getting the G5 all together and, dealing with a Super D5 league. But anyways, I love the show. Thanks so much for taking my call. I guess if I could pose a question, it'd be, what do you think the ACC does about all of this? Like, I feel like they've been kind of a conference that's been overlooked. Who are they going to go after to make sure that they stay relevant? Because obviously, as long as they have Clemson, they're going to be good. But they're not a super strong football conference. They could add somebody.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the call and the question. He said, before I get to that question, he said a couple things that I thought were very interesting. Kansas is going to talk to a lot of conferences based on their basketball program, but I almost think whichever conference – he was right. Whichever conference does take Kansas almost has to get Oklahoma State too.
That's
right?
what I said. I said that they would have to get Notre Dame or Oklahoma State.
But even like Notre Dame is kind of their own animal. Like when you're trying to get Kansas there in the middle, and you got Oklahoma State, like got to try to grab them both. Mm-hmm. You almost need to get them on the same call together. Like guys, we're willing to take Kansas, but we need something like that. That's a very good. I think the Pac-12 to be respected nationally, all they really have to do is for USC to pop off again.
Yeah,
because I think the Pac-12 was extremely respected when the USC was on top of the college football world. So I don't think that.
I think even when Oregon was like we said it yesterday when they were making that run, we respected the Pac-12.
And I respect them now. I think this year they're going to be really good. Washington's going to be a really good team. Oregon's going to be good, and USC is always just right there. But your question was ACC. What are they going to do? So they're going to make a play for Notre Dame. They're going to try.
For sure.
Now, I do think we're entering a time period where Notre Dame's going to have to, they got a ride. They got a national ride where they were by themselves for a long time. But I think we're entering a time where they're going to have to settle down. That is my theory here. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But ACC is going to make a play for them. And if the ACC could come out of this taking in Notre Dame and West Virginia, they might win this whole thing.
Massive,
yeah,
because they're taking in two very good programs, two money makers, especially Notre Dame, one of the biggest money makers. If they were able to get that, I mean,
and both of them solid in football and basketball. Yeah, that's huge.
That would be ultimately, if you were doing winners and losers at the end of this thing, you would start with SEC because they got Texas and Oklahoma. But boy, ACC, if they were able to add a Notre Dame and a West Virginia. Look out.
Like, as a Big Ten guy, like, I'll be jealous if they end up with that.
But I also think of this. If Notre Dame if the Big Ten was able to outbid, or if Notre Dame just said, no, we're not joining anywhere, what do you do for the ACC? I think you might end up, like, there's going to be movement. I think you might grab Maryland back, or you might grab Rutgers or something for that New Jersey market. I think
we grab like an extra Big 12 team.
Yeah. Maybe you make room for Iowa State.
We got Kansas, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State,
and you expand to the West a little bit,
which I think that works for us too.
Yeah, I mean, if you losing Rutgers or Maryland does nothing to the Big Ten.
No, not really.
Big Ten's just they can't let the ACC get Notre Dame here. I mean, they got it. That would be such a colossal failure because the Big Ten, are kind of considered, one of the biggest haves as far as money and power and influence. They have to add Notre Dame to Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan here. I mean, it's like a can't.
It just makes so much. Obviously, they've been doing all this stuff with ACC the last few years, and they play the ACC, their ACC basketball, whatever. But it just makes so much sense.
Yeah, we fucked up doing that vaccine NFL talk. Remind me next time we have any story about the vaccine or COVID, not to even fucking talk about it on the show.
It goes,
a lot of political
people in the chat. It
goes crazy.
It's so
you just say that trigger word. It's just people are just very opinionated about it.
Yeah. So we're talking gambling. We're talking sports here. Whatever. Stick it up your ass. I don't care. All right. 646-291-2437. We'll get a couple more because I said we would. Let's see. Noah in Michigan wants to talk about the Big Ten. Go ahead, Noah.
Hey, you guys answered my question kind of already, but I guess if you wanted to dive into a deeper discussion about it.
Did that not happen to anybody else?
I got electrocuted, yeah.
I'm sorry, Noah, go ahead.
If we add Cincinnati and then possibly Kansas, I didn't even know about that until listening to the show today. Could we reconstruct the East and the West? I mean, being a Michigan State fan, I would love to go to the West. They've been talking about it for a couple of years now.
Am I the only one that can't hear
we could have more powerhouses on the West rather than just having the East. The East, I'm watching Brandon fall out of his chair right now. Rather than just having the East stacked with Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, then probably throwing Cincinnati in there or something like that.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you think Cincinnati would be in the Big Ten in this scenario?
I just think they make the most sense to be added there. I mean, geographic-wise, but I guess we're starting to stray further and further away from geographics now, so I guess that doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah, I just don't know. If there is a big swinging dick in the Big Ten, it's Ohio State. I'm not sure they're letting another Ohio team come into the Big Ten. I just it makes sense on the field because Luke Fickell's there and they've been really good lately and the basketball program is historically good. But I just don't see Cincinnati adding any money to the coffers of the Big Ten. I don't see Ohio State letting it happen. But your ultimate question, do you think they should realign and expand more west? Yes, I do think they should realign. I do think they should expand more west. And I don't know exactly what that looks like. But you've got to change something up right now because the East is so stacked in football with traditional powers compared to the West that it does your Big Ten championship game. Nobody goes into that thinking the West ever has a chance,
it'd be nice to toss Notre Dame on the other side.
Yeah, you can get Notre Dame on the other side.
Whatever. Do they now you guys know more about this than I do. Is there a specific reason for Notre Dame not wanting to join a conference? I mean, they could have joined the Big Ten for years now.
Yeah.
And choose not to.
They make their own money.
NBC.
They have their own TV network. They don't need to get into a conference and share revenue with everybody else. They make more revenue, as much revenue as anybody by themselves. So that's why they.
But isn't there a way for them to keep that TV contract money kind of like Texas has and other
well, Texas kept
that?
Texas kept it because the Big 12 was the Longhorns' bitch. The Big 12 sucked their dick. That's why they existed. I don't think the Big 10 is going to suck Notre Dame's dick, but it will figure out a way to yeah, they'll probably
make a big offer.
Yeah, they'll make a big offer and they'll make it worth their while, and it'll have to add up. There'll be some contracts talked about and bought out and shit. I think the Notre Dame joining a conference probably can't happen in the next 5 or 10 years. Like, it's going to take a while. I don't think
it's going to take that long.
I don't think it couldn't happen immediately.
I was thinking like 5.
Go ahead.
Before you guys kick me off here, I was trying to give you two Olympics picks all week.
Go ahead.
All right, love it.
They're long shots. I do pay attention to rowing a lot. In men's single sculls, you got Damer Martin at plus 1,100. I don't know if he's going to win, but plus 1,100 is strong value for him. He won silver in the last Olympics and silver in the Olympics prior to that. And
love Damer Martin.
I believe he's the only one that medaled. I believe he's the only one that medaled that's returning for the 2021 or I guess 2020 Olympics. And then also if you look at golf, Hideki Matsuyama is at plus 1,600. Obviously a great golfer, winning the Masters and born in Japan. I think there's great value there too.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm adding that rower to the card. That was.
I was just gonna say, if you give me a rowing pick, I have to take it.
Who was
I have
it?
no choice.
Damer Martin.
Damer Martin plus 1,100.
11-1.
Notes.
Change the title of College Football Central. That way normal people can find something else to listen to in July. Let me tell you something. If you're watching this right now, I love you and I appreciate you. You're not fucking normal. All right? You love sports, you love gambling, you love Barstool. So don't complain. Oh, change the college football. We're talking about what's happening in the world of sports right now. That's the biggest story.
They want us breaking down baseball.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to give you,
I think this is more topical.
We'll get that with our picks though. Last week.
Trust me, I could go off on a rant on how Brooks Krisky or whatever the fuck his name is the worst pitcher in the history of baseball.
Didn't he get demoted to single A last night, right after the game or something?
He should know. He should be kicked out of just America, the planet.
We do need to kicked out of America.
He is, Did you see what happened last night?
4 wild
they blew
pitches
it.
in one inning.
We were up 3-1 in the 9th, blew it. They tied 3-3. We score a run in the 10th. It's 4-3. Obviously, they start with a guy in second. They went wild pitch, score a run, walk a guy.
Yeah.
Wild pitch, sack fly.
Well, the Yankees
over.
aren't a good team.
No, but that's no. We are a good team. We have a better record than the Mets. Tough division. Aaron Boone's a fucking clown. Brooks, when we brought in Luis Cessa the inning before threw 5 pitches, a legitimately solid reliever. We bring in this guy Brooks Krisky with a 10 ERA in the bottom of the 10th, 4-3. Like, what the fuck's going on? What? Aaron Boone, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I don't even know what to say. It's like it's been happening for so long. We keep blowing these leads in the 9th, whether it's Chapman just shitting his pants or random bums like Brooke Kriske coming in. I don't give a fuck how to say his name, what his real name is. He's a bum. He should have never put on a Yankee uniform. He's a disgrace. This team is a disgrace. Greg Allen's the only good thing we have.
So I have I don't know, man. That sounds like a problem of a baseball fan of a team that's not very good. My baseball team, Mississippi State, won the national championship.
It's a true story.
I fucking hate the Yankees. They just drive me like Aaron Boone is such a fucking clown.
All right,
A clown.
so speaking of baseball, the fucking Cleveland Indians just dropped one on us today. Nobody was expecting it. Nobody was thinking about it, and all of a sudden the Cleveland Indians are the Cleveland Guardians, and they have a logo. Boy, do they have a logo. The G with the wings and looks like a shoe, a bad shoe that your dad wears. Like it's not. And Nick, by the way, Nick Terraney, who's a brilliant graphic design guy, said I like the logo. So,
I didn't hate
don't
that
mind it?
logo. I didn't hate it.
Guardians is just. I mean, it's out of nowhere. It has some history in the city. I believe they have a bridge with Guardian statues or something like that. It's just anytime somebody drops a new name. Is it ever going to be received with a lot of applause and a lot of, wow, that's a good name? It's always a lot of shit.
People are so resistant to change.
I think that I tweeted earlier. I just said I think it's one of those, realistically, no matter what it was, you would have saw some blowback. But I think this is just Guardians is just not. It sounds like an XFL arena team name, arena football. Like that's what the one that someone said to me. The Cleveland Rocks.
That's what I want.
With the logo, with the baseball, with the sunglasses and the mohawk.
Yeah.
That would have been sick.
And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's in Cleveland.
That's what it's right there.
Cleveland Rocks. That's a state.
It's right there.
Cleveland Rocks.
Yeah, they said that would have worked. Like just to say everything with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That logo was awesome. I think that would have been incredible.
Can I just say something? I think we often overreact to names and always call them awful when we hear them for the first time. But there's a shit ton of awful names in sports. Mm-hmm. And we just, because they've been around forever, we just accept them. Like, we have a team called the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, and Jazz, they have nothing to do with
Utah. We have the Los Angeles Lakers, who were called the Lakers because they were in Minneapolis. They moved, they didn't change the name. The Lakers is a terrible name for that team. Mm-hmm. There's just some stupid-ass
Grizzlies in Memphis.
The Miami Heat, they went with the Heat. The Magic. I mean, these are objectively not good sports team names. And because they've been around a while, we accept them. So Guardians, when you put them up against these other names, I think it's fine.
Well, notice, I kind of, of all the teams you said all the teams that don't have an S at the end.
I didn't say all did I?
You named Jazz,
Magic,
Heat.
Jazz.
Besides Lakers, you named Jazz, Heat, Magic.
I sure did. So we'll throw the Thunder in there too, because I guess maybe I need S's on my team names. But yeah, I just there are a lot of stupid names out there.
But I even saw someone said the Cleveland Spiders. Like I like that better. And I think Cleveland Spider. Like I said, I think all these would have saw some blowback. I just think Guardians is just not an exciting name. I just think it doesn't get you like what is a Guardian? Like it doesn't really. It just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't push the right buttons.
I have another. Quick team nickname take. I feel like whenever 100 years ago, or whenever these nicknames were being really assigned to teams and all that, we focused on too small of a percentage of the animal kingdom. There's so many tigers and bulldogs and cougars and panthers and jaguars. There's so many of these out there. The wildcats. All right, we focused on the big cat family a lot, but hippos is out there.
I like the gorillas.
There's so many the gorillas, the kangaroos. I mean, the pandas. There's so many animals out there that we could have used that we could be using now.
Just the polar bears.
The polar bear. Oh my God, the
monstrous
polar bears.
Animal.
That would be incredible.
I think gorillas are phenomenal. How about like a team, the silverbacks?
The silverbacks.
Ooh, I like that.
I mean, we focus the whales, the killer whales, the orcas.
Killer whales would be not bad.
I mean, these are so many. We segmented ourselves too much, and we focused too much on the cats and the dogs, and then we didn't focus on a wild array of animals out there that we could use.
A lot of sea creatures in play too.
Yeah, just like the dolphins,
stingrays,
rays, dolphins.
Kind of thing. I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins. What a great name.
Sharks.
That is.
Yeah, penguins is good.
Sharks, great.
Penguins
are not an intimidating animal at all.
And they also have nothing to do with Pittsburgh.
No, literally not at all.
Giraffes, maybe.
Man, it's
an interesting rant.
I would love to just rename teams.
I think silverbacks is a great
telling
name.
me having a fucking hippo and a big ass tank wouldn't be awesome?
Phenomenal.
The hippos.
Now I'm trying to think of other just massive animals.
The rhinos.
Yep, rhinos
think-
is good. I like rhinos.
I think we're about done with rhinos. I think they're about checked out. But
Yeah?
they're about.
So it'd be
checked
like
out.
an homage to them.
An homage to the rhinos. Yes. The pit vipers. Yeah.
Like that. Some snakes. Let's go some
Yeah.
snakes.
Yeah.
The rattlesnakes.
Rattlesnakes, cobras.
Cobras is good.
I mean,
I guess we have diamondbacks. That's
think of the Boston College boa constrictors. BC.
Ooh.
Come on,
Maybe the like the tarantulas.
please.
The pythons.
There's so many animals.
Yeah, you're right.
Pythons is good.
I hadn't really gone down this road, but now that you've opened it,
The llamas.
Okay. Not okay.
maybe the dinosaurs even.
Yeah.
The Lexington llamas.
Yeah. Somebody says Kraken is dope. See, Kraken, that's a made up animal, and they just did it. Or is that an animal? That's an animal, right? It's a big. What is a Kraken?
Don't really know.
Something with
Giant squid.
Giant squid.
Yeah,
thank
something
you.
with
Okay.
Seattle. That
The octopuses.
Yep.
The possums.
The calamari.
I was thinking that too.
The raccoon. That's probably that one. The
I can't
the
with them all.
Zebras.
the zebras. The honey badgers.
Mm.
Oh, we have badgers. We have
How about
those.
the cheetahs?
I can't. That Ole Miss already has that.
Cheetahs.
Fast.
You got me on that one.
SEC speed. The cheetahs. Let's go ahead and do picks, and we'll get back to whatever we want to talk about at the end. I'll take some more calls. Man, I just loved.
We just came up with so many better names.
So
than
many
the
better
Guardians.
names, especially like
Literally just us workshopping just right here on the spot. I didn't think about this at all before I walked in.
Silverbacks. I mean, that's a great name. You came up with.
That was when I thought it in my head and I was like, damn,
The
that's good.
Sacramento Silverbacks.
Like, that's awesome.
All right, so here we go. I'll let you go first. I assume you're still in first place. I had a pretty good night last night, I think.
And I went even. I was 2-2.
All right, I'll let you go first.
So always going to get my day action. I just got 3 plays today. The Cubs money line today at 2. I got the Orioles money line. Jorge Lopez on the mound. He's actually been really good as of late at home against the Nationals. And I've been riding the Cardinals train. They've been winning ball games for me. I'm back on them. Cardinals money line tonight. That's the card.
I'll give you
dogs.
I'll give you Mets money line to beat the Jays tonight. I'll give you Cardinals money line as well. Cardinals money line to beat the Reds. Yanks Sox under 9. I think we're headed towards a low scoring game. And then the Brewers White Sox. I think that's is that Giolito versus Peralta, I believe?
Yes.
It's under 7.5. Low total. Really good offense with the White Sox, but just good ass pitchers. I'm going with that. So that's my 4 picks, my 4 plays. Baseball is just such a slog for me and a war, but we're getting through it. Go ahead.
All right, we got the Detroit 7 in a row. I'm sure y'all are all seeing the Chris Castellani, one of our new employees on Twitter, who's enjoying it. Apparently he has a very pure heart. But I'm taking Detroit plus 108. They've won 7 in a row. Taking the Houston Astros by 1.5. I'm going Milwaukee minus 136. And then the Padres are in Miami. I've got the Padres laying a 1.5 and them holding Miami to under 3.5 runs. So almost kind of doubling down on that one.
Okay. Well, do we have anybody else? Do we have Rico? Do we have Marty? Yeah, we got Marty. There's Nationals minus 136. You got the Yankees money line. Just every day. Every fucking day.
I almost took them today just because Cole's in the mound, but after what I saw last night, I just couldn't.
You know what? They're not.
I couldn't stomach typing out the Yankees. Today.
Are we all? Did you have cards too?
Yeah.
I didn't.
I had the cards. Okay, too many people on the cards. And Rico is surprised he isn't.
He went juice bag on the Pods. I laid the 1.5. He went juice bag on the.
Well, Rico does that. Rico does that just to prop up his record. An Astros team total over 4.5.
That's a lot. Look at the juice on that. Mine's 139 on an over under.
Rico doesn't care about juice.
Isn't that the highest y'all seen on an over under?
Let's see. Harambe was killed close to Cleveland, so Silverbacks would work. I think it wouldn't work because of that.
I think it was Cincinnati.
It was Cincinnati, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Cincinnati.
That's where Harambe was.
I love you just having immediate knowledge about
Cincinnati
Harambe.
Zoo.
Cincinnati Zoo is probably a great place.
Never been.
I haven't either.
I've been to a zoo in a long time.
Have you ever been to Cincinnati?
Yes.
How about that Mets announcer just killing Skyline Chili the other day?
Yeah, I went to a concert there once.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I guess who it was?
Sure.
Future.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, I swear.
I feel like you can go 2 for 2 on guessing. I've seen a concert in Cincy as well.
Widespread panic.
Oh, yeah. There were like 800 people
He was the
Tuesday.
headliner, no, but I was upset because the Migos were supposed to be there and they just didn't come out. But luckily, I'd seen them like a couple weeks before.
I
so
wasn't
it was
too
all right.
big on the Skyline Chili either, to be honest.
Never
I wouldn't
honestly
say I
never
hate it,
tried
but
it.
I mean, what they show on TV of
I
putting it
can't
on the
believe
pasta and all that.
I can't believe you guessed Future.
I just, I just went young rappers in my mind, or rappers young people like.
I would say he's like 40 years old.
He is now, yeah. But I assume you were younger when, so.
It was my senior year of college. It was like
good.
3-4 years ago.
Fucking nailed it.
I went to a Cincinnati, West Virginia football game when Cincinnati was really good. It was right before Brian Kelly left from Notre Dame. It was fun.
What's the West Loop? Where's that? Somewhere, right?
Chicago.
That's in Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Tony from the West
Oh,
Loop.
Tony from the West Loop.
Tony from the West Loop.
So there was a point in time, me and Tony go way back when I was an intern screening calls for the Yak when it was Big Cat and Carabas. Tony from the West Loop, I used to screen his calls. Tony, what's up, my guy?
Guys, what's going on? It's been a long time. Really glad to be back with you. I have 2 quick points for you. The first, Brendan, I think you're wrong on the Notre Dame to the ACC for 2 reasons. One, we know the playoff is going to be expanding, so they're even getting more entrenched as an independent. If they win double digits, they're in.
Yeah.
And the second thing is the ACC TV deal, which no one really wants to talk about with ESPN, goes to 2036.
Yeah.
Wow.
So why would Notre Dame want to give up that lucrative NBC money to move into a conference where I think the numbers that I saw, it's a drop-off of $18 million in terms of annual payout for the revenue. So I would love to see them come to the Big Ten. I think that's a natural fit, but probably not going to happen. My other point was, according to the model that I run for college football, the team that I'm kind of like low-key amped about is West Virginia. They're only going to be dogs to 2 teams, at least according to my model.
Yeah.
And they're 50-1 to win the Big 12. Now, I get it. Oklahoma, by far and away, is going to be the most talented group on the field. But Neil Brown, I think, is a sneaky top 10, top 15 type coach, and the defense is going to be there. We'll see what the quarterback play looks like. They got speed on the outside. Take a shot on West Virginia. Maybe just play the over-under on regular season win totals. But I think there's going to be a couple of teams and a couple of conferences that are going to be able to – I think there's going to be a wacky year. I'm just going to say that right now. I think it's going to be a wacky year. You're going to see Alabama lose.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it will be a wacky year because the top teams are down a little bit to allow that to happen. And I love West Virginia, too. Their defense is going to be really good. Their quarterback, who struggled at times last year, Daggy, he's back and he's ready to go. And I think they're going to be a good team. I really believe in Neil Brown. I think that's a fantastic pick. I like that. Tony from the West Loop.
One thing on that futures thing, if you took them 50-1 and they somehow, because they could sneak into the Big 12 title game. I mean, even if they're catching.
You know, Mincy,
go ahead.
On that point, let me ask you a question. Do you think there's 2 schools of thought on futures. One, you really believe it and you think there's value. And 2, it's a good enough number where you can get some value by hedging out. I'm under the assumption if I'm going to make a bet, I'm going to really believe that they have a legit chance to get there. But I see the other side and just sort of if you take 50-1 and you can make money along the way, I think that's a fair way to do it. But you have to have some core belief that they can do it, no?
No, that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think.
All right, fellas, be good. I love you guys. Talk to you.
Okay, Tony,
good call.
Finished. All right, good call.
See why you liked him, Ev.
I'm telling you, I was screening his calls in the old office 3 years ago, when the Yak was 6 or 7.
David,
way back.
David in New Jersey wants to talk college football. David.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
First of all, big thanks to Zah for getting me on there. Brandon, Ev, Mincy, love you all. Thank you guys so much for taking me today. So my question was, with this whole new conference stuff, could there be a situation where we see a team that's going to be in one of these conferences that's going to stay, as we're assuming the Big 12 is going to dissolve, like a Miami, they don't how a lot of other teams are jumping to the ACC and they see the money. Could we see a Miami to the ACC? Could we see Miami to the SEC? Excuse me. Could we see a Maryland to the ACC? Could we see another of these big guys jumping shark to another big conference?
Yeah, I think especially to make room for if somebody wants to make a play for Notre Dame and then there's enough teams in the Big 12, you have to absorb. Somewhere along the way, somebody's going to need to make room for somebody else, and there will be some conference switching. This might be a 10-year plan, but Miami to the SEC, I think the SEC's done. I think the SEC probably has got what it wants. Because adding Miami and adding Florida State to Florida, when you've already got Florida, I don't know what that helps.
Yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense.
Whereas the only addition maybe maybe you just grab Clemson just to go ahead and lock it in.
I don't even think Clemson would want to do that.
They got Dabo's got it made right.
It's kind of what you said about that their road gets
Texas
harder.
wants to do it. Texas and Oklahoma wants to.
But they're
Oklahoma and Clemson have a very similar situation.
I hear you.
So I tell you what, you say the competition, you say all that. Money always wins. Money and pussy, two undefeated things in this life.
But the thing is, if Clemson went, then do we just literally have like what happens to the ACC now? Because they don't have the same stranglehold on the conference as Oklahoma and Texas do. Big 12. I said before, Oklahoma and Texas are bigger than the Big 12. I don't know if Clemson, because this success it's not new anymore, but it's the last 10 years new.
But see, Clemson is holding that conference up with the football. They are the best football program, but the basketball Carolina schools run that conference. For
sure.
They run that conference. It's a different kind of conference. It's a different way to run things. Texas Oklahoma ran the Big 12.
Yep.
Clemson is atop the ACC, but doesn't run the ACC.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. They don't have the same value as Texas Oklahoma do.
All right. If you were on hold, I didn't get to you. I apologize. My fault. I did get to several. We're getting better. Yak is up next. Thank you, Big L. Thank you, Mints.
Have a good weekend.